This wasn't just an economic downturn, it was a staged collapse of trust, of ordinary lives, and of an entire financial system built on illusion. The 2008 crisis is often framed as an unfortunate accident, but the truth is far more unsettling. For decades, greed, deregulation, and mountains of artificial wealth created on paper piled up like dry tinder, and eventually it all caught fire. When the system finally crumbled, it wasn't the powerful who paid the price. It was everyday people, the very architects of the disaster. They walked away richer. Before the collapse, everything looked perfect. Record-breaking home prices, banks advertising dream-come-true mortgages, a nation convinced that prosperity was guaranteed. Then, almost overnight, the mask fell off. Banks failed, markets plunged, retirement accounts were wiped out. Millions lost everything before they even understood what was happening. And when governments released billions in emergency aid, who received it? Not the families losing their homes, not the workers watching their savings vanish, but the same financial giants that caused the meltdown. Experts love to hide the truth behind complicated jargon: subprime loans, derivatives, CDS, MBS, systemic risk. But strip away the terminology and you're left with a very simple equation. Uncontrolled power plus unlimited money plus zero oversight equals inevitable collapse. After the dot-com bubble burst, Wall Street searched for its next source of easy profit. It found it in real estate. In America, owning a home wasn't just a need, it was a national fantasy. And Wall Street figured out how to package that fantasy and sell it. Mortgages were bundled into massive products and marketed as safe investments. On the surface, it made perfect sense. Real houses, real people, real payments. But the more the system grew, the more loans the banks needed. And when qualified borrowers ran out, they simply lowered the standards. They issued risky loans to anyone who applied. No income checks, no documentation, no accountability. It's fine. The risk is diversified, they claimed. But it wasn't. On top of these shaky loans, financial giants built another layer of bets, credit default swaps, allowing investors to gamble not only on homes, but on their failure. It created a twisted machine where the worse things got, the more money some people made. And the referees of the system, the credit rating agencies, stamped these toxic products with the highest safety ratings. Why? Because the very banks selling them were the ones paying the rating agencies' fees. This wasn't just a conflict of interest. It was one of the biggest deceptions in modern financial history. By 2005, housing prices were climbing far beyond reality. People were flipping homes they never intended to live in. Empty towns were being built at full speed. This wasn't growth. It was a bubble, and it was ready to burst. When interest rates rose, millions of homeowners couldn't keep up with payments. Defaults surged, and the supposedly safe mortgage products began collapsing in value. Lehman Brothers fell first. Bear Stearns vanished before it. AIG was next in line. These weren't small firms. They were pillars of the global economy. And they were collapsing one by one. Panic spread. Banks stopped lending to each other. Liquidity froze. Global markets spiraled downward. In a single year, American households lost $19 trillion. When the public begged for help, governments reacted quickly. But the rescue wasn't for the people, it was for the system. TARP, Federal Reserve interventions, and emergency programs poured trillions into financial institutions. The result? While ordinary citizens faced unemployment, eviction, and poverty, Wall Street executives rewarded themselves with bonuses. This wasn't a financial mistake, it was a betrayal. After the crisis, central banks activated their most powerful weapon, quantitative easing. the mass creation of money. Trillions of new dollars flooded the system, and the effects were immediate. Stock markets soared. Housing prices inflated again. Corporate profits exploded, but wages didn't. Inequality surged. The wealth gap reached historic levels. Then came the pandemic, and even more money was printed, more than in the entire previous decade combined. At first it felt like a miracle solution. Then inflation roared back with a vengeance. Interest rates climbed. Debt became more expensive. And the same cracks that nearly destroyed the system in 2008 reappeared. Only this time everything is more complex, more digital, less transparent, and far more fragile. What did 2008 teach us? 1. Complexity is not safety. The harder a system is to understand, the easier it is to manipulate, and the easier it is to hide danger. 2. Incentives determine outcomes. If the people taking the biggest risks face no consequences, collapse is guaranteed. 3. Financial literacy is not optional, it's protection. You don't need to be a banker to protect yourself, but you do need to understand the rules of the game. History doesn't repeat itself, but if you ignore its warnings, it will crush you all the same. When the next shock hits, and it will, headlines won't save you. Only awareness, preparation, and knowledge will.